Hi. So, where do I put these? Okay. Oh, that's a big box. I inherited this giant box of books from my grandmother, and this doesn't even scratch the surface of what she has, but these were all classics that I have been wanting to read for years, and I've probably read some of them and maybe I just don't remember. But I feel like a kid on Christmas morning. So I thought it would be fun to go through all of these books. And so many of these belong to my dad when he was a little boy. And so they have his name written in the inside cover. And so pretty much most of these are, well, not all of them are paperback, but a lot of them are kind of strange. I never thought my grandmother was interested in some of these books. And maybe she wasn't. Maybe she started to read them and just didn't finish them, but just kept the book. So, what I would love from you, though, is help me narrow down which of these I should start with first. I'm going to read all of them at some point. Definitely not all this year, but help me figure out top three to start with because again, when I walk into a bookstore or I see all the books I want to read, I'm like, where do I even start? So stick with me all the way to the end and then drop like your top three, like which ones I really, really should start with. And these are a mix of fiction and nonfiction. So, where do I start? Okay, this one is not a classic edition, but it is a classic book. And it's interesting. I don't know where she got this. Maybe Barnes and Noble, but it's Sense and Sensibility by uh, Jane Austen. And so it's interesting. So it has the book, and I guess it has the movie with Emma Thompson. So that's interesting. But yeah, that's obviously a book that I've wanted to read, and I can't believe that I haven't read that one by Jane Austen. So that's a good one. And then there's a few other ones. Oh, yes. Okay. Speaking of, then we've got Emma, also by Jane Austen. I didn't realize this was such a large novel, but definitely want to read this. I've heard a lot of people don't really like Emma, so I haven't read it, so I don't really have an opinion on it yet. But I don't know why some people just don't like the character or per se, but they like the story. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, next is going to be this. Okay, don't fall, please. This annotated Alice in Wonderland. Now, I recently bought an old, maybe early 1900s copy that did not have the date published in that edition. But then I found this annotated in my grandmother's collection, which at some point I did want to get because it's interesting to read different annotations of classics. So that's cool. I'll probably read the original in the older edition and then maybe give it another read in the annotated. So I'm going to read this one at some point. Okay. This one is not an old classic. It just caught my interest. This is an encyclopedia, an illustrated encyclopedia of herbs. So I just started an herb garden on my back patio, and I'm quite proud of myself. So this obviously grabbed my attention because I'm learning about growing herbs. So this came home with me. Okay, then we have some really cool old paperbacks. And oh, another Jane Austen. Ha! Persuasion. Definitely want to read that one as well. Again, not an old edition. I think this is one of the Barnes and Noble editions. Yeah, Barnes and Noble classics. But I definitely want to read all of Jane Austen's novels. I've only read Pride and Prejudice, but I loved that story. And it's also worth reading again. I think it's been over a decade, maybe 15 years since I read it. Okay, next one this is more of a play. It's Taming of the Shrew by the Bard, William Shakespeare himself. I have not read this one. I don't think I have. So that's interesting. Um, I think plays obviously are better seen performed, but I also kind of enjoy reading them. But, you know, anyway, maybe this is like lower on the list. We'll get to it someday. Okay, then we have To Kill a Mockingbird. I may have read this. I don't remember reading it. I think I have. I do remember seeing the black and white film with Gregory Peck, I believe. Yes, Gregory Peck. And that was a phenomenal movie. It's a great story. I just can't remember if I've read the book or not. I think maybe. Anyway, but whether I have or haven't, I think it's worth reading again. And I love this old copy. For me, there's something about reading books on paper that's not stark white. I don't know if it's like a nostalgia thing or if it's actually easier on my eyes to read something that's not so white and stark. But yeah, cool book. We're gonna read it someday. So let me know if that is one that I should read sooner than later. Okay, then this one, I had never heard of this one, but it's Tanglewood Tales by Nathaniel Hawthorne. So he's the author of The Scarlet Letter, which is a phenomenal book. But I had never read this. I had never even heard of this. But again, I really like Nathaniel Hawthorne, and I liked The Scarlet Letter. But I know nothing about this book, and it's a short one, so it would not take long to get through at all. But have you read this? Is this good? What is it about? Tell me all the things. Okay, then we have two Jack London books. So Call of the Wild and White Fang. Again, I've heard of these. I don't think I read these. These were my dad's when he was a kid. Um, Jack London doesn't necessarily evoke all that interest for me. I think these are more focused on nature, and I don't really know a whole lot, but it just doesn't really sound interesting, even though I love nature and I love being outside. Um, but it's just not really my style or type of story that I typically enjoy. But I'm curious. And so sometimes, even if I'm not all that interested either in an author or a style of writing, sometimes I kind of want to know what all the fuss is about. And so I'll read something because I want to know for myself. So while these don't necessarily pique my interest all that much, there is an element of curiosity about, why are these so well known? Has to be for a reason. And so for that, like I would read it. Okay. Then we have the Iliad and the Odyssey. Needs no introduction or explanation. So I know there is a film coming out this summer, 2026. I think it's the Odyssey. It does not look appealing at all. I've heard some things that it's not faithful to the story at all, especially historical accuracy is kind of lagging in a lot of it. So will I see it? Yes, because I'm curious. And I kind of want to see what all the fuss is about. But I love the stories. I think I did read these or parts of it as a kid, but I want to read them again as an adult. And I've always loved Greek mythology. And then speaking of, we have this other paperback on mythology. So when I was in middle school, for some reason, Greek mythology just captivated me. I just thought it was so interesting and fascinating and mystical, and it's always stuck with me. Okay, next one is The Turn of the Screw and Daisy Miller I never even heard of Daisy Miller by Henry James, but I had heard of Turn of the Screw, and it's been on my list of books to read. And so I thought that was just super. Look at that, 50 cents. Can we bring that back? Can we bring back 50-cent books, 60-cent books? I've seen some of these. That would be fantastic. That was 75 cents. Why do books need to be $10, even if we're a paperback? If this was sold today in Barnes & Noble or even Amazon, I'm pretty sure this would at least be $12. Yeah, let's bring back the 50-cent books. That'd be great. Also, I've been in a gothic novel / story mood lately the last few months. And so, yes, this was definitely on the list of spooky stories. So I'll probably read this one sooner than later because it's so short, and so it's not going to take that much time to get through. And then, of course, we have Edgar Allan Poe, again, classic. Read a bunch of his stuff growing up, always just super creepy, but phenomenal writer. And so this is a great addition. And this one has also, I think, the majority of his classics, like Telltale Heart, of course, The Pit and the Pendulum. That one always just really creeped me out. Fall of the House of Usher, William Wilson, never heard of that one. The Black Cat, The Mask of the Red Death, Premature Burial. Oh. And there's some interesting illustrations. So these are kind of fun. That's really interesting. So as much as I love these spooky stories, I kind of have to read them in the daytime because I get a little creeped out and spooked. So if I read them in the daytime, they're not as scary. So this one I think is a children's book, The Phantom of Walkaway Hill. Never heard of that one, but again, I think this is a children's book. But it looks cute and it looks, innocent. And I think it's kind of a mystery. So, has anyone read this? This was my dad's. So, and it looks definitely well worn. And again, another 50-cent book. Can we please bring that back? Okay, this one, again, never heard of it. She by H. Rider Haggard. So apparently this was a very inventive and remarkable novel with a hypnotic story of a white goddess in Africa whose passion for the man she killed survives for 2,000 years to ensnare his handsome young descendant in a strange adventure. That is very strange. That is an interesting plot. But yes, let me know if you've read this. Again, very, very interesting. It seems kind of creepy. Okay, next one is another absolute classic is, oh no, it's coming apart. Journey to the Center of the Earth. Oh my gosh, I loved the old film. I can't remember when the film came out. Oh goodness. I can't remember their names either, but I can see the movie in my mind's eye, and it was one of my favorites growing up, and it was fantastical. And Jules Verne had an interesting imagination, but so interesting. So I really, and this is a short book. I didn't realize it was so short. Complete and unabridged. Another 50-cent book. I mean, come on. Okay, next one is Vanity Fair. This one never really interested me enough to want to read the book. I don't know a whole lot about it, even though I do find the time period, kind of interesting, which does not even tell me. No, that's not Victorian era. But now that I have it in my collection, I do want to read it because I'm, again, curious about the story, but I'll have to, take some time to familiarize myself with what the story is about. I do remember seeing the movie that came out, I think with Reese Witherspoon. Oh, did I get that right? Was she in that? I can't remember. Whatever the modern one was that came out within the last 20 years or so. I didn't really like the movie, but anyway. Okay, next is Sophocles. Some very interesting Greek dramas. Four Greek dramas to be exact: Antigone, Oedipus the King, good old Oedipus. Okay, Electra, and Philoctetes. That is very Greek. More plays. A lot of these stories have influenced, modern authors and authors through the ages, for good reason, because they are, especially Oedipus, very interesting, disturbed person. Okay, next is Virgil's Aeneid. Enid. I can never say that correctly. Enid. Translation by John Dryden. Another classic, like classic. Some of the original written stories. Again, Greek mythology, Greek stories, Greek history, always been so fascinated by. So I probably would want to read this around the same time I read the Iliad and the Odyssey. So I kind of just keep it all together. Or maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should space it out. You tell me. Okay, next is Ernest Hemingway, A Farewell to Arms. This one is all sorts of, wow, markings and everything. Oh my word, you guys, though. This one's $1.95. I would also be okay with that if we could bring back $1.95. That'd be fine too. 50 cents would be better though. I've never read anything by Ernest Hemingway. I don't know why. He just kind of never really sparked my interest. But now that I have the book, I am totally open to giving it a try. Oh, wow. Okay. Cloud cover. Interesting. But probably, again, lower down the list. But if I should read it sooner, you should let me know. So, okay, almost done here. Okay, this one, my dad was like, you got to read this one. It's a tearjerker, which I don't really like sad stories, but he's like, no, you really need to read this. So Not in Anger. Something about, drama in a Southern family. I think it's what it's about. Yeah, it's a powerful novel of a Southern family dynasty, which, I mean, I am Southern and I did grow up here. So it could be interesting. Lots of drama. Yes. So Jack Hoffenberg, never heard of that author. Okay, and then I kind of saved the best for last. Please don't rip. Is the works of Josephus. This is a really old, really old printing. So Josephus was he was a Jewish historian around the time of Jesus. So obviously this was not printed 2,000 years ago. But it is a very, very old printing. So I want to be careful that let's see. Okay, well, there's writing in here that says 1845. Someone handwrote 1845. So it has to have been print. Oh my goodness. Wow, this is like falling apart. But what a treasure. And why would anyone write in this? So this, okay, it looks like this was printed in 1843. Interesting. But look at the sides. Look how, I just love old books. Love. And I've also wanted to read Josephus specifically. So this was something I had no idea my grandmother had. So anyway, that is all that I have for the moment. Obviously there are so many more books at her house, but I went through these and I thought, let's start with these. So let's leave out the non-classics. But for the rest of them, give me your top 3 that I should start with. I'm going to read them all, almost all. And this one is not going to be, a fast read. This is more of like something that you sit and linger with and you study. But I would love to know, which ones I should start with first. Like, is it all the Jane Austen books? Is it Homer's? Let me know down in the comments. Give this a like, share, and subscribe, and hope this was fun for you. And I will see you later. Bye.